EShed Alston again on the hottest live radio again, but with a different format this time. So you think you know the law. We'll be referencing two cases that are currently in the federal system. But before we start with a very simple and a very complex at the same time reference. And it is there's one supreme, unchanging, omniscient, omnipresent, omnipotent, almighty God, Father God. He's unchanging and he's unchangeable. And we start with that as our central theme. You know, I vote. I think we should all vote. And I participated in the election cycle this year. I voted for Donald Trump. I'm not going to get into that now. I'll get into that in the commentary. But I want to read you something from the September 6, 2016, a court order of one Judge Sue Robinson. Let me repeat that, Judge Sue Robinson. And she references on page 2 of her order, without access to, quote, without access to DSU, Alston, that would be me, has allegedly been unable to create a working prototype of a solar hydro system similar to that developed by California-based Solyndra using, says Alston, his misappropriated intellectual property. The intellectual property was referenced in the book. Because of time constraints, I won't go into all the particulars of it, but it was referenced in the book in 2009. And although she made the reference to appear that Solyndra came before the book, that, Judge Robinson, is a misrepresentation. The book was there first before Solyndra even became known as Solyndra. George Soros is the developer of the fraud. Yes, I'm saying the fraud. The reason she referenced this, well, let me read you more of her quotations. She says, Alston's emergency petition alleging copyright infringement named as defendant the complaint, named as defendant in the complaint or the U.S. Bankruptcy Court, District of Delaware. Well, that's not really true either. I named by name George Soros, and that's how they manipulated the system. So to Donald Trump and the new Trump administration, you're talking about draining the swamp? Well, there's no way you can drain the swamp of corruption without coming through Delaware. Delaware is one of the most corrupt environments right now in terms of the legal system you'll find anywhere in the country. And so a copy of this presentation program will be sent to both Trump Towers and to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue, as well as a copy of my book and a copy of these court documents. Because if you're legitimate, Donald Trump, you'll keep your word. I trust any man by his word. He said to the black community, what the hell you have to lose? Well, I trusted you at your word, Donald Trump. I would also like to input a fact. Back in 2007, I attended a number of events in Philadelphia. One of them was sponsored by Donald Trump, and he appeared. On my next presentation, I will produce the cover of the event. I'm sending a copy of it to Mr. Trump as well. Why? Because we are in dire trouble as a nation. Our political correctness has caused this nation to become devoid of common sense. Well, back to the subject of Solyndra. I was banned from Delaware State University to prevent me from building a prototype of my invention, which was Shepherd. Stands for Solar Hydroelectric Power Plant Aquatic Research and Development. I developed the idea when I was a student at Delaware State University. I'm banned from Delaware State University simply to make it easy for the Solyndra fraud to materialize and to mature. Am I saying that the state of Delaware is corrupt? Yes. Am I saying that my banning from Delaware State University had political connotations? Yes. And if this was all relative to a Democratic-run administration, then the Republicans should be willing and ready to end this long nightmare of deprivation. I'm going to give you a couple of case numbers. Excuse me. I've been working hard labor this week. I'm having some renovations done on my home. I'm a legal professional, so I negotiate things. My contracted amount, get this, public, started out at $30,000. I had a half dozen contractors coming to my home, a half dozen. Oh, what was the final amount negotiated from one of the 6 that came to my home? $5,600. Some of you are saying, I thought he said $30,000. I did. Right now, the contractors in Dover, Delaware will mark a $5,000 job and will charge you $30,000 for it. I just thought I'd just throw that out there since this is about law. And so you think you know the law? Well, I tell you what you need to learn about is contractors, because they will rip you off and rip you off as Donald Trump says, they'll rip you off big league. See, I believe in this country, but I also believe that we have to be accountable to what we say. Case in point, Barack Hussein Obama. You can keep your doctor, you can keep your coverage, and your premiums will never go up. That's what he said. And that, all 3 of those things were blatant, bald-faced lies. But he sold it to you, and you bought it, and now look where you are with your very high premiums. So we now have a situation where we have a new administration in the White House, and let's hope and pray that they do what they said they're going to do. There was another program format where I introduced an idea, again, consistent with legal considerations of status, standing, and legal capacity, and that was the paying of reparations to the millions and millions of disenfranchised, marginalized black people. If the Trump perspective and what he's selling is legitimate, then what better time than a flourishing and a viable America? What better time than a time such as this? So I'm going to send a copy of this program to Donald Trump and to the White House so that this understanding of how the law works, or better, how the law does not work, is identified to our new president, while the transition period, that time period between the new administration and the old administration are in transition. So that's where that's at. And now I did broach the reference to reparations. Reparations are the paying of, in this case, money to the descendants of slavery. So to say then that just anyone can get this reparations, it would be an incorrect statement. What's the purpose of reparations? The purpose is that the generations of black people who have now been replaced by Syrian nationals and sanctuary cities and all this other nonsense. Before I go too far into reparation, I have to make a statement of observation. I heard Ron Emanuel, the mayor of Chicago. He was on the air today. Oh, what an idiot. And he was making comments about how Chicago will always be safe. It will always be a sanctuary city where people is safe. Fool. There's been 3,000 shootings in your state, in your Chicago. Chicago has one of the highest murder rates in the country, you idiot. And you're talking about sanctuary cities? See, Rahm Emanuel is a good example of the Obama mentality of abject stupidity. And I'll just leave it at that, Ron Emanuel. Give me a call so I can tell you what I really feel of you, you idiot. Now back to reparations. The idea that any culture of people could be here this long and not get reparations would be to undermine the principle that the Indians now own the reservations that they live on and now have viable industries, including casinos and other industries. They have been given their legacy as a culture of Americans. We black people have not. So when, if not now, when, if not this generation, which generation? I submit to you, this is going to have to be legislative. It's going to have to be state by state. But reparations should be paid, could be paid. And isn't it ironic that this conversation never came up during Obama's 8 years? Because he wasn't really interested in that. He was more interested than men going in women's bathrooms and that sort of thing. So his perspective was not about reparations or the number of killings by of black Americans by police forces, as well as I referenced in Chicago, the killing of black people by black people. It wasn't important to him. Had to make his golf day. Had to make sure he had his tea time. That's Barack Hussein Obama and his Obama nation. And you know, again, a lot of this is commentary because of things I've seen this week. This has been a very stressful week for me, very stressful. I find it to be more stressful when the candidate wins than when they lose. That's just the way it seems to be working out anymore. But I voted for Donald Trump. I voted for him because I would never vote for Hillary Clinton. Well, why would I say that? Well, in one of my documents that I filed in court, I want you to read. I want to read this for you. This is currently in federal court. This is in, let me tell you which one this is in. This is in EShed Alston versus the Administrative Office of the Court, number 162165, a United States Court of Appeal for the Third Circuit. And this was filed August the 15th of 2016. And let me read you this. This says this. Timeline as applied to context of demonstration of corruption on the Court of Appeals intent and a record of events are in demonstration by the appellant of significant material fraud and corruption that has been exposed. Applying the required standards of due process of law and regarding the equal protection of law are very important considerations to demonstrate what Donald Trump accurately described with the term he employs, the fix is in. We're referencing crooked Hillary Clinton's asserted as the proper term to be employed circumstantially in the current appellate analysis of August 15, 2016, in consideration of required objective reasonability. In this case, the fix is in, whereas unquestionably two appellants are identified, but only one has filed a certificate of service. What am I saying? The fix is in Donald Trump, President-elect Trump, but this was filed in August. We just had the election in November. So, was I giving you support? I guess you could say I did in print. And what was the context? I referred to your statement, sir. The fix is in. See, when this is reviewed, you'll have a copy of all the documents. You'll have a copy of my book. Send you a copy. Sir, I sent all of this to Barack Hussein Obama in his first term. And you know what they sent me? You might, because I don't. I never got anything. To this day, never got a response from the president. Yet he has responded to all kind of manner of people other than me. So I'm hoping and praying, President-elect Trump, that you are a better man than the last one was. Because if you are, I'll hear from you. And my audience will know I heard from you or not. Because I'm going to keep them posted. This is not about me. This is about their best interest. You said you represented our best interest when you said to us, what the hell do we have to lose? And we voted for you. I voted for you. but I've been following you since 2007. I'm not a new recruit, if you want to look at it as having a military context to it. So that's what this is really all about on the hottest live radio. It's not just commentary, but social commentary, representing the marginalized and disenfranchised, with a new administration saying, now we have hope. Well, now we will see. I must say, in all honesty, that I am somewhat dismayed when I find out that now Ben Carson will not be part of the Trump, what do I call it? Movement? That's what you call it, the movement. I think certainly that Dr. Carson is qualified to be placed in several administration functions in the government. So I'm somewhat dismayed. But you know what? I'm a positive person. I believe in America, and I voted for you, Donald Trump, President-elect Trump. So I'm willing to give you the benefit of the doubt. I did the same thing with Barack Hussein Obama, and he let me down. I didn't vote for him, but I didn't pick it in the street. I didn't go in the street and like some of the young college students have to have safe places and whatnot because they're so distraught that they now have a new administration and they just can't deal with it. So they need safe spaces so they can go cry and whatnot. Now, I'm not making fun of them, but quite frankly, I think it's kind of absurd when we have 20-year-olds in college who can't cope with an election. How the hell are they going to cope with life? So just keeping it real, or trying to keep it real, but looking at that from that perspective, that's not really real. If you're 20 years old and you can't do an election and your remedy is crying and having a safe room to cry in, I think we got problems with this generation. That's what I just think. You know. So this is really a positive presentation in my light of it. I can prove that right now in federal court, I have a winning proposition before two appellate boards, and were the system to be fair, were the swamp to be drained, I would get paid millions and millions of dollars. And so I just wanted to settle these lawsuits. Again, there's corruption that has me here, that has denied me my opportunity because of what the judge described as infringement on intellectual property, which it was and it is, all on the behalf of George Soros, Barack Obama's first administration's banker and campaign manager. Now, if that's not a scandal, what is? You know, it's kind of interesting that Donald Trump's entire presentation was how crooked the media is, how corrupt the media is, how the fact that the media will hide stories and present stories in a manner, in a way that identified the media to be corrupt. You should have heard about this story. You should have heard about the book, and you should have heard about how this all plays into Solyndra, one of the biggest stories that was out there. But remember how Solyndra went? You heard about it for about 5 quick minutes, and then you didn't hear anything else about it. You didn't because the news media didn't want you to hear anything about it, because all of these connections to it involving a relatively obscure black man in the state of Delaware. But the fact of the matter is, I got official federal documentation. So you can't hide it if it's in the federal documentation of the record, the contemporaneous record, the record identified now by the Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit with not one case, but two cases. Alston versus the Administrative Officers of the Court, number 16-2165, and Alston versus Markell, which is, well, just look up Alston versus Markell. I'm the only one suing the state and suing the governor, so it should be easy to find. And I'm here because I care. I care that the black community has invested in Obama and got hijacked, flim-flammed by Obama. And now here we are with another presentation as to whether or not we're going to be treated with the respect that we do as the the culture of the great people that have been our evolution. We didn't come here as slaves. We came here as people of color and as citizens of great authority from wherever we came from. But if we were that then, and we're here now, then we are great enough that reparations should be paid to us. And before you bring in one more Syrian, before you bring in one more Afghani, before you bring in one more anybody, make sure that the people who are here, who built this nation, are compensated. And so that's what I'm here to promote. President-elect Trump, that if your program will work, and you say it will, then why not pay reparations to black people? It should just be a negotiation now of dollar value and dollar amount. And while I have your ear, I've watched the news media over the last several weeks leading up into the election. I had my own media presentation on the hottest live radio, but it was reference to another program that I ran called So You Think You Know the Book of Revelation. That one referenced our moral obligation. This one references our social obligation to not ourselves, but to our children, to the next generation, to the promotion of hope over fear, and logic and reasoning over ridiculous, stupid statements like you get from Ron Emanuel, for example. And so we have a crossroad here to make a determination of where we go and what we are as a nation. And if we decide that we will, I hate to use the phrase because it's such a divisive phrase, but if we drink the Kool-Aid and opt into this Trump make America great again concept, then he owes us at least that much that we supported him when, by a popular margin, most of the Americans didn't. Because remember, Hillary Clinton did win the popular vote. So we have a fractionalized nation that has two distinct philosophies. One progressively liberal, which has men going into women's bathrooms, and another one that is yet to be manifest. We don't know exactly what we're looking at. We know what we've heard, but we heard from Barack Hussein Obama that change was coming, and it was coming good. And 8 years later, we're still waiting for it. At least I am, because what I've seen has been more executive orders than any president in history. I'm a legal professional. Congress makes these decisions, President Obama, not you. That's why the procedure is there. Yes, the executive orders are there for emergencies, but you use it for everything and anything. You use it to shut down the coal industry. That's how you use your executive orders, to shut down the coal industry, American coal industry. So I'm looking at now where we are, how we got here, what the rhetoric has been, what we've been told, and I guess we'll have to see. But what I've been seeing on the media has been demonstrations, a degree of social disorder that is disturbing. I have a message for a Black Lives Matter because of the fact that I'm a person of color. And I know that the last administration promoted Black Lives Matter, and I want to make this overture to the Trump administration. I have a different concept. And my concept is, because I believe in God, is that all lives matter. But I just want to make a little pseudo-political point with Black Lives Matter in terms of challenging the concept. And yes, that's what I'm asserting here. I'm a licensed legal professional. I do consultations. I do paperwork. I I've aided and assisted people all over the country. And what I've discovered is that military people have issues that need competent, concerned care. Members of law enforcement who are black go through the same circumstances. So if Black Lives Matter and you're against the police, what about black and blue lives? What about black and blue lives? What about a black police officer? What happened to him? What about black and green lives? Black members of the military, what happened to them? Who represents them? If your organization does it, who represents them? That's a question for you. Black Lives Matter. Because if Black Lives Matter, all lives matter, black and green lives matter, and black and blue lives matter. If Black Lives Matter. Just want to throw that in there as a little commentary. So, as I close my probably rather controversial presentation, because so I've heard out there I'm rather controversial. I can't believe that. Not me. I'd like to make a quick summary. Solyndra was a fraud. It was perpetrated by the Obama administration in his first term. George Soros took almost $1 billion to build nothing. He didn't intend to build nothing because the idea wasn't his. The idea was in put in the back of this book, Lamb's Book of Life, as Shepherd, Solar Hydroelectric Power Plant Aquatic Research and Development. And I was banned from Delaware State University by a racist Judge Vaughn to prevent me from building a prototype. That's what the judge referenced in her. And she references the ID number of the bankruptcy court document. See, Trump administration, you can look all this stuff up. You can verify every statement I'm making, Trump administration. So all I'm saying is, while this is still in the transition time period, I'm going to send a copy of this, all these documents, to 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue and to Trump Tower. And I will be back on the air within a limited amount of time with these certified receipt, of course. Of course I am. Why wouldn't I? And we'll see what happens on return receipt. Now, Barack Obama never contacted me ever to this day. You said you're different. Well, now, if you're different, then I should expect a different result than I got from him if you're different than him. I got no response from him. I should get a response from you. And we'll see. I sent it to him in the same time period during his transition period, just like I'm sending it to yours. It was sent certified mail. Somebody signed for it, but I never got any. And it's kind of interesting that when he had the homosexuals there, he contacted them. He got in contact with them, made it seem how important they were. Well, I'm a black man, Barack Hussein Obama. You didn't think I was that important, I guess. Well, Donald Trump, president-elect, you said to me as a black man, what do I have to lose? Well, I have to lose my pride. I have to lose my respect if I do anything because I'm just motivated by greed or some other consideration. But if I'm motivated by what you said, make America great again, as a veteran of America. See, that's another thing, President-elect Trump. I'm a veteran, honorably discharged veteran. And you made all the statements about veterans as well. So now I guess I'm a double lipper because I'm a veteran and I'm black and a legal professional. And so all the things you said that referencing how you could be of help to this disenfranchised and marginalized community I represent. So that's why I'm making this presentation to you. I'm sending these documents to you so you can have your Justice Department look into this. Right now, this happened as a result of Charles Overley filing a removal action from the federal court with no charges whatsoever. This should have already been litigated. This should have already been litigated in my favor. Rule 33.6 is the pro se mediation rule. How do I know? Because I looked it up. My case manager never told me. The one they gave me, I got two cases. The one they gave me, they were required to give me two. The one they gave me. So a rule that would have mediated my multi-million-dollar cases was never told to me. I had to tell them about it. And then the case manager that I have never put it into the system. Why? Because they don't want black people to get paid. President-elect Trump, Because this is a situation where, because of the corruption in the system, I should have been paid. And right now, I'm at the Court of Appeals for the Third Circuit. I give you the case numbers. But you have reached the government now. You can look all this stuff up. I don't have to give you the case numbers. All I'm saying to you, President Trump, is I'm with you. Let's make America great again. Let's drain the swamp. But if we're making America great again and we're draining the swamp, you have to start in Delaware, where an attorney general appointed by Barack Hussein Obama will remove a case from a state court to a federal court to dismiss it so that he cannot be exposed and his administration cannot be exposed. All I'm saying is no one has more documentation of the record of these events involving this Obama nation and this Obama administration that were outlined in the book. And I sent him a copy of it back in 2009 or somewhere around that time period. This is important because we are people of color, aren't going anywhere. You gave $880 billion with a B to the richest people in the country, who some of it took it offshore. He's trying to get it back. That's what we hear. Some of it, who knows what they did with it, but they didn't invest in infrastructure. They didn't invest in American industry. I guarantee you, President Trump, if you invest 10%, $88 billion into the black community, it ain't going nowhere but America. And so the idea that we'll invest in billionaires who took it and didn't spend it as if they didn't spend it on themselves, or investing a tenth of it, not 880 billion, 88 billion. You want your infrastructure built? We built America, so we can certainly build your infrastructure. Now, if the Obama administration had planned to do this, 8 years passed by. They didn't. What I'm promoting here is that reparations could get that done in 4 years. So that's what this presentation is about. I believe in America. I believe in the industry of the black culture. And I believe that anything that we are put upon to do, we can. How do we know? I don't want to get too ethnic or historical, but we cleared those cotton fields and whatnot, cleared the land and made sure they existed so that you people have a textile industry to this day. So let's get it real with it, okay? We set you up to be where you are, and now we want our part of the pie. You want to make a bigger pie? Then give us a slice of where you're at now. Because up to now, we haven't gotten much of the pie. All we get is crust. And we don't need more crusty America. We had that for the last 8 years with Barack Hussein Obama, who told us lies and smiled at us. I don't need smiles. We need jobs. We don't need smiles. We need upward mobility as a people. And if we can do it for Syrians in sanctuary cities, and we can do it for illegal aliens, all of America in sanctuary cities, then we can do it in your town and in my